peeps, great to be back with you. Now, I've called this episode, What the Hell Were You Thinking? And for good reason. Look, if I could be granted one wish, it'd be the ability to read people's minds. But sadly, no one I know can really read people's minds. Although my wife comes pretty close, she knows what's going on in my head. Here's the thing, as marketers, if men were making all the buying decisions on the planet, we'd have our lives set because we know what goes on in men's minds. Let's see, I'm a marketing consultant, you want to sell something, men's making the buying decision, well, let's add sex into the message. And how about we add a bit of food somewhere, we can slot that in there, and then let's chop it off with just a bit more sex, alright? I think that'll cover it. Done, we've got a home run, we'll make millions. But the sad thing is, men don't make the buying decisions. Now, a recent survey showed that actually 85% of all buying decisions are made by women. You got it right. And I'll tell you now, I think that number's a bit low because you don't live in my household. Women make most of the buying decisions on the planet, and the quicker you can understand that, the quicker you can then start to realise what they're wanting, what their needs, fears, desires are, so you can then fulfil them for them. That's our job as marketers. And it's a great job, it's lots of fun. So here's what I want you to be thinking about as a business owner. Firstly, understand, even though you may think it's the man making that end decision, generally it's the woman, even when you're in a Fortune 500 company. I'll tell you here and now, a lot of them have a very close PA, and a lot of those PAs are women, and I'll bet you a lot of the CEOs are asking their PAs, what do you think, Mary? And they're influencing these decisions. You can't fight it, it's just reality. So, if you can't fight them, you've got to join them. Now, in your business, with this in mind, I want you to be thinking about three very important points. You see, you need to constantly think about, number one, your responsibility to identify what your clients' thoughts, wants, needs and desires are. That's right, think about them. Number two, constantly educate your clients. Don't try to sell them your stuff. Don't try and say buy, buy, buy. Just educate them as to why you're the most logical choice for them. And number three, when you've serviced them, what you need to do is inspire them so they have no other option but to go and tell their friends. Okay, that's really what you need to be thinking about. Those three things, pretty simple. But here's the thing, most of the clients I work with, they're so focused on themselves and they're thinking about all of their challenges and all of their problems. How am I going to pay my mortgage? Man, can I buy that new fancy car? How can I get more money out of that customer? Now, these sorts of thoughts, believe me guys, are going to send you astray. Your sales are going to drop because that's not really we're coming from the right place. When you're dealing with clients, you always should be coming from the right place because they can sense if you're genuine or if you're full of crap. And I don't want you to be full of crap. I want you to have a successful business. And the way you have a successful business is by looking after your clients. Not complicated, very simple. That's why every organisation that I've been involved in has become a multi-million-dollar organisation. Okay? That's why our businesses are successful, because we shouldn't be thinking about ourselves. We need to think about our clients. Now, a great man, Walt Disney. I'll tell you, I was in Disney World not that long ago, and I saw Walt Disney's philosophy, and it was quite simple. It says, do your job so well that people cannot resist telling others about you. Quite straightforward, isn't it? And really, that's how I managed to get the momentum in my company to go from absolutely broke, no money, no clue, electrician, to having one of the largest air conditioning companies in probably Australia. So, you know, it's that one principle. Think of your client, think of what their needs are, think of what their wants are. Hell, I like Disney World so much I ended up buying a property bloody 5 minutes away from Disney World. That's how much fun it was. So they got it right, you know, and guess who made the decision on buying that place? Do you think it was me, ladies and gentlemen? No, you got it right. How many percentage of buying decisions come from the females? Yep, 85%. So, honey, it's only 85%, not 95%. Remember that. Now, moving right ahead. If you give people what they want, you're going to end up with what you want. Does that make sense? It's really a better way of doing business, quite seriously, because if you come from the right place and you genuinely care about your client and you work out how to make their life easier by giving them the services that will benefit them greatly, you're going to be a winner and outdo your competitors. It's not rocket science, it's just being genuine. Okay, so when you stop thinking about yourself, start thinking about your clients, look out, the money's going to start coming in faster than you've ever believed. Think about when you're doing something, any action in your business, I want you to think about those three principles that I shared earlier. Okay? Are you doing something that's going to benefit the client and make their life better? Okay? Are you providing an outstanding service so that they have no option but to tell their friends about what you're doing? Yeah, just think about these things that are going on, and before you know it, your business will start to hit all those goals you want it to. So I'm just about to talk to Laurie, but before I do, I want to give you a little bit of insight, because I've been doing some research on this lady, and she's got a stunning background. Not only has she studied with the world's masters such as Gary Halbert, Dan Kennedy, Alex Mendosian, but she's got a degree in journalism, and she's actually the niece of Ralph Waldo Emerson, America's probably greatest poet. So I tell you what, that's not a bad resume in anyone's book. So what I'd like to do is welcome Laurie to this interview. And Laurie, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. How you doing, Ian?
Really, Laurie, I'd like to just start this off with something that I uncovered as I was researching your background, and that is when you started out. I guess you left the nest, as I'd say. You started off with $300 in your pocket, a cat, and a futon, and you went to LA. Now tell me how you went from $300 in your pocket back then to being recognised as one of the greatest copywriters in the world.
Well, it's funny you bring that story up. I moved from North Carolina, which is the West Coast in America, to Los Angeles, the exact opposite sides. It's like Brisbane and Perth, right? So I basically it had nothing to do with copywriting, not to disappoint anybody. I wanted to be an actress. That was really my motivating factor. And there's something about me, and I see it in you and in other driven entrepreneurs and business owners, that when I really want something, I just go all out. And I leap sometimes even before I have a plan. That's why I only had $300. But when I'm really passionate about something, I just do it. So I came to California to be an actress. I had my journalism degree solidified by then in my hand, but that my dream was always to act. And I found out that I'm a terrible actress.
Hey, I watched Baywatch, and I'm telling you, I was pretty fascinated by that program. So it must have been your spectacular acting skills.
Yes, I was on Baywatch. That's my biggest claim to fame. I got in the union, and then I got married and had children, and that became my new passion. And that actually, in a strange way, drove me to where I am today.
Well, listen, I saw some tips that you handed out quite a while ago. When you actually go to seminars, you're very strategic when you go to seminars. And I had a look at some of your recommendations that, and I tell you what, they have a lot of validity. I'd love you to share some of those tips. So people that are out there investing in themselves, getting the education and learning new knowledge, give them a few ideas, Laurie, on how to make the most out of their time when they go to these events.
How to make the most? Oh my goodness. Networking is, I know everyone's not a natural networker, and I kind of really like it. I have a social side to me, but I'm also a little introverted, so I don't want to be bombarded all the time. So you have to respect, your own style of when you go. But when you are at an event, I got to tell you that most of the deals that I've made were face to face. There's a different relationship that's established face-to-face than via email or a phone call even. Don't you agree with that?
Oh, I hate email, Laurie, with a vengeance. Anyone that's tried to send me one realises that fact. Oh, I understand. What I can't get is individuals, business owners that sort of settle for the 1% response rate that is an industry average. And many people, if they get a 1% response rate, they're really happy. But they don't realise that they could also possibly get a 50% response rate or a 200 or a 500% response rate if they just knew the critical skills of copywriting. So what's your take on that, Laurie?
I so agree with you. You're preaching to the choir. I don't understand it either, why people will try everything else, right? They have to have a great website, professional pictures, business cards, but the copy seems to be the last thing on their list, and it should be the exact opposite. So I get very frustrated as well, but the smart people who figure it out right away, they're the ones who end up getting the conversions and the profits much faster.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the question of the month, I guess. And what do we got this time, Michael? Alright, what do we got here? Daniel R. from New South Wales. Ian, I've been in business for nearly 5 years and I just seem to be spinning my wheels. I don't seem to be moving ahead. Can you please help me? Well, that's a pretty broad question. I don't really know enough about your business to give you a qualified answer there, Daniel, but what I can ask you is, do you really know what you want? Okay, so you say you've been spinning your wheels. Have you actually thought about setting targets, setting goals, having that clarity of what you want to achieve so that you can just start taking baby steps towards it? That'd be my advice. Get really clear. How much are you going to make this month? Now, back in my day, I would send a target. I would say, right, I'm not going to go home. I'm not going to see my wife until I've made this sale. Until I've closed an air conditioning sale, I'm not going to look at my family. Now, that was pretty extreme. That worked for me, but I'll tell you what, it gave me the juice to keep going. Maybe that's what you need, mate. Set some goals, set some minimum targets, and don't go home until you nail them. Hope that helps. I'll catch up with you next time.